What's up, world? What's up, Zion? It's Prince Easy coming at you again once more. And as usual, I do have a couple slides that I want to share with you in this fine day that we're having. And of course, before we get to those, I want to issue a fair use disclaimer for all the material that's going to be shared here in this year post. Right, for the purpose of information, transfer, education, criticism and whatnot. Right, so yeah, without any delay, let's dive into it. Yep. Just so you know, well, I can predict, right? I'm not a soothsayer, but I can predict how this is gonna end. Yeah, there's a lot of volcanic activity going on everywhere, and of course, they also cannot forget about this, right? Because what would happen if this were to occur, right? This rift to cause a new continent to occur over a day like that. Yeah, South Africa is apparently being investigated by the US. Under whose request? You just have to do a light digging. I've touched upon this, right? Yeah, and this SGR should start moving quick. Yeah, no mercy, they say. Okay. I have to give a shout out to the brother. Like I said, a lot is happening under the earth. Okay. Yeah, Haiti is a complicated case. It's only going to stabilize when there is no interference. But until then, people are going to continue treating it like a colony. Yeah. Hmm? How long are people going to go along with this? The bigger question that people are not rather avoiding to ask is, Trump has not fired a single missile nor a single bullet. Then what is the problem? Complicity in war crimes from the American peoples. Okay? They know, right? They know, at least now they're admitting it, that they're just a gun for hire. Wow, Trump's BFF is also Putin's BFF. Yeah, act like a real king. You and your prince, right to the front of the war. just correcting mistakes, right?
So, who is giving the orders for all the GHF operations? I was told very explicitly, directly to my face, that our client is the IDF. Your client is the IDF. Our client is the IDF. And this came out in a discussion once where I was in the control room. I was on control room duty that day. We had shifted responsibilities on a rotation base. So I was in there that day with the radio observing site number 2 distribution. A Palestinian man had picked up some children to let them step on his shoulders to get onto a berm because they were being crushed in the crowd. Site 2 is very small, the smallest of all 4 sites. These children are being crushed. Pick them up there and put them up on the berm. And the Israeli Defense Forces liaison officer in the main control center with us comes up to the screen that I'm watching and he says, "Tell your men to get them down." I was like, "We got this under control." He's like, "I know they know what they're doing. No, children, just calm down. Get them down now, or I will." Well, there's no IDF on the site, so I didn't take it much more than just being, bombastic and like, okay, hey, we got this. He leaves and goes to his desk in the operations center, and he gets on the radio and he speaks something on the radio. It was in Hebrew. I don't speak Hebrew. One of the contractors that was there was American that did speak Hebrew, and he notifies me. He said, "Hey, he just told the snipers at the IDF position, because the site number 2 is co-located with an Israeli base. No. That he just told the snipers to take these kids out." I was like, "On the radio?" He's like, "Yeah." This lieutenant colonel then comes back up and he says, "Get them down." And I look at him and I say, "Did you just call on the radio and tell your men to shoot them?" He said, "I'm going to take care of this if you don't." I said, "You are not going to shoot. You are not going to shoot children. You're also not going to shoot because if your men miss, you're going to hit others. You're not going to shoot." Thank God we didn't come to the conclusion of figuring out whether he would or not, because the children jumped down and ran off of the site. They didn't want to be there. They were unarmed. They didn't have shoes. One wasn't even wearing a shirt. They were starving. The chief operations officer for Safe Reach Solutions, our higher headquarters, so to speak, in the contract, beckoned me outside with him, and he looked at me in the face and he said, "Never say no to the client." And I asked him, I was like, "I didn't know the client was in there. Who's here? Did Johnny Moore come to visit?" And he said, "No, the IDF." I was like, "The IDF are our client?" He said, "Yes, we work for them."
You mad yet? You upset? Frustrated that your tax-paying dollars are going to people who find it morally justifiable to kill kids because they're on somebody's shoulders? It really makes you wonder if Russia and China are really the true enemies that we've been told about.
So who would...
Palestinians were like, "Yes, Jews, Armenians, you're both welcome, come. Of course we'll let you in."
My maternal grandmother was born in Haifa because after the Armenian genocide, the stories that my grandmother told my mother about how the Palestinian Muslims treated Armenian refugees, who were obviously overwhelmingly Christian, was incredible. They were welcoming.
As Jews moved to Palestine, Palestinians were welcoming them because they saw the Jewish people coming in as brothers and sisters escaping persecution.
To Zionists here and everywhere.
These people came on ships holding up signs about World War II saying, "Please, we're refugees, let us into your home." And the Palestinians opened their doors to them. This is the story of Muhammad Hadid and Bella Hadid. Yeah, the model, Gigi Hadid. His mother had just given birth. They allowed these refugees, these Polish refugees, to live in their homes as refugees because they wanted to help them following a world war.
We let you into our homes when your own countries tried to murder you, and everyone else turned you away. We fed you, we clothed you, we gave you shelter, and we shared from the bounty of our land with you.
And then one day,
and when the time was right,
Palestinians who were letting Jewish Europeans live in their homes come home and they find the locks changed. And they were like, "Wait, why can't I get into my home?" And then the family, the Israeli family on the inside, just simply wouldn't open the door, wouldn't talk to them, wouldn't let them in.
they came back to their houses, and the doors were locked. They came home, the doors were locked, and guns were being held, and they were told, "Leave right now, or some soldiers are going to come murder you."
You kicked us out of our homes and homeland. Then you killed and robbed and burned and looted our lives.
Do you guys understand? Just go through that in your head.
And so, in the mind of the Palestinian, this was just an upending of, wait a minute, we welcome you in, we put you in our house, we fed you, and then the first opportunity you had, you stole our home from us. They couldn't reconcile this.
You carved out our hearts because it is clear that you do not know how to live in the world without dominating others. But the world is finally glimpsing the terror we have endured at your hands for so long. And they are seeing the reality of who you are and who you've always been.
Imagine your family has lived on that land for hundreds and hundreds of years. And then you say, oh, you know what, the Ukrainian war's happening right now, I feel really bad. I'm going to allow a Ukrainian to live in my house, maybe here in Tennessee. And you allow them and you share with them, and you do this out of the kindness of your heart. And one day you come back to your house, and the doors are locked, and those refugees that you let in are telling you that if you try to open that door, you are going to die. It's a fact. No one can dispute that. There was no money. There was no trade. There was no conversation. They were effectively hijacked in their own homes. So the entire story of Israel has been immoral.
You need to watch this video.
When there is a war, it doesn't matter who your enemy is, you need to destroy their offspring to prevent them from creating more offspring.
So you dehumanize a group of people in human society, and you prepare them for the kill, for the butchery.
But it's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it.
The way we solve anti-Semitism is pretty goddamn simple.
Take control over what they are saying.
Send their ass to jail. It's not complicated.
And quickly before it's too late.
We're monitoring political Islamists and Christian nationalists, all of them, and then we train. We're the largest trainer of law enforcement in America. Extremes of hate. We train 20,000 officers every year. Try that again.
Here you said there's coming to me online from the
We deeply value our partnership with law enforcement. We've been working with them literally since the FBI was founded in the 1930s.
We're going to have a whole division within the office of the Special Envoy to combat anti-Semitism that is going to work on technology.
We must take all of our technological expertise and all of our available resources to develop methods to launch and win a significant counter-information campaign.
Because it's not working. Too many young people have never heard of the Holocaust.
The only solution right now is for the governments to decide that all the Jews are a protected minority. That means that the government will be obliged to provide the security.
Upgrades to security. Jewish community shouldn't have to be paying for it. We have to pay for our own guns? Are you serious?
Any candidate running for a seat in this building, whether for Congress or Senate, we will target them as they target us. Accordingly, we will start a fund to help their opponents.
I'm going to make a warning to somebody else, and that's American Gentiles. The minute your country is taken over by anti-Semitism, the minute you start to be a country that's not blessing Israel but cursing Israel, you have begun the process of shrinking and away from your empire. The Jewish project is done. We're going to be fine. For decades, American society allowed Jews to live normal lives. This was a pleasant holiday from our destiny. The holiday is over.
The Western culture that stands against the Jews is going down. The West will survive only if it decides to love itself and if it decides to love us, the Jewish people.
The Jewish people are not normal. We never really were.
And now that Israel has turned the entire geopolitical situation on its head, our job in the diaspora is to leverage those wins and win here. Do to our enemies here what Israel did to its enemies there.
Well, let me speculate, right? I believe this is just a case of parallel, right? These individuals created a parallel Israel, right? Not that the true name of the 12 tribes is complicated, right? Basically, they created a counterfeit, right? That's the name I gave it, right? The Gemini project, right? So if you want to know what is unfolding, you have to know what is supposed to unfold in regard, or rather when we're talking about the Israelites. Why do I say this? Well, to settle the confusion, okay? Because they have a whole other narrative, right? They have a whole other narrative and a whole other prophecy, right? And how these prophecies were revealed and how they came about, but there is a confusion, right? People think that the original has anything to do with the counter. That is a mistake, right? So again, Gemini, right? Just like they told you in the movie Superman, right? 2 Superman, right? One original, one a counterfeit. So now it's just the issue of discernment. That's it. That's it. And the world has or will decide. That's in the near future anyway. Because after that decision, after the wheat and the tares have been separated, what happens to the tares? I'm going to use that relevant example. So, be not afraid. Prince Easy, signing out. Love you. Bye.